Just a review of day one of the second test between England and Pakistan at Lords. Um, it was a day where Pakistan won a very kind of important toss, and you know, it's interesting because the whole game is going to be kind of truncated because each day there's rain forecast quite significant amount of times of the day. So in a way, you could say people will be bowling in these conditions right the way through. But given that, it still was a very good toss to win, and England had England were in a bit of trouble. They kind of got out of it a bit. But time will tell how good this first inning score is. But probably a better side would have nailed them for much for far fewer runs. Okay, anyway, it started off, and I looked with interest at who was giving a talk on the pitch to the England side, and it was Graham Gooch. Um, so Graham Gooch was talking to the players about, I think, some cricket fund or something. And it just struck me, I wonder if that's deliberate because um, last winter, Ben Stokes was very pointed in his criticism of a lot of the England ex players who said he hadn't done the right preparation for the Ashes. They were completely spot on as well. England lost it 4-1. And he said this is before the Ashes started, so they weren't being wise after the event. And he said they were just has-beens. So it's great that someone who, a legend like Gooch. Um, I mean, this is a guy who got 333 runs against India. India avoided the follow-on, and he got another 100, and he got some wickets and a run-out as well in that match. So this guy was a complete beast, and to call him has-been is just incredibly disrespectful. But so I'm really glad he was on the pitch, uh, talking to the England players because he was a great cricketer, a great cricket man, and it was also a good batting coach in England's best period really since the 50s under Andy Flower. So we've got a lot of time for Gooch. Anyway, England lose a toss in perfect bowling conditions, basically. You could get any more perfect, and the conditions that suited most of their attack, guys like Abbas. So it it was kind of ideal for them. Looking at dismissals, I think Gay's shot was peculiar. Um, well, not peculiar, but it was a poor shot. Um, Dockett, I don't really blame, given out on review. And Root has got. I mean, it's funny to say a weakness because he's such a good player, but there does seem to be a way of getting him out, or a kind of dismissal that's familiar with Joe Root. So England were in all sorts of trouble, and then Brooke kind of saved them slightly, and he got out just on the stroke of lunch. No, they said it was a bit of a kind of peach or a Jaffa. I still think it was a bit loose, but these are really good bowling conditions. I won't criticise him. And what was interesting, there was like a semi-recovery with Lawrence and Cox, and Lawrence got run out, and it just struck me that this is a guy that gets out in really soft ways, throughout his career. I remember his debut. I remember watching it. Um, at home. It was in Sri Lanka, early hours of the morning, and he he said he got out because he was thinking about how he was going to celebrate his 100. He never made the 100. Still hasn't made 100 for England, but that's how he got out. And then it, even in this series, he was out with a peculiar sweep shot in the last test. Now this one, he's run out, and he's just one of those guys who has some talent. Definitely has some talent, but he's just a bit of a plonker, a bit of a wally. You call him what you like, but he's soft. I do not want this guy playing someone like Australia or India. He's not suited to that. He's someone who's maybe in that category of too good for county, but not good enough or hardened enough for international cricket. And as soon as someone like Corrin's back, they've got to bring them in for Lawrence. He can't be playing in the Ashes next year. So Cox and Smith put on a good partnership. It was good to see them get 50s, and I think with Smith, he'd been kind of someone who was on the kind of diminishing returns really since his debut. So it was good that he made a. I mean, if England win this match, that partnership will be the thing that won it for them. Then they got there's a few more wickets there for Pakistan. Robinson seems to have lost his touch with the bat in this series, which is a bit of a shame because he's made at least one Test 50 I can remember. He's a decent. He can kind of hold the bat. He's a decent kind of batter, but he's gone up for low scores this series. I don't know if he did last 2 or 3 balls this time. I think maybe two. But some nice hitting from Archer and Atkinson. It's brought England up to about, was it 248? I think for 9. A bad line closing play early, but even if they add nothing to the overnight score, I think that's a very competitive score in these conditions, providing these conditions stay the same, which the forecast indicates they will. Um, if if someone like Robinson gets his lines right, or Raj or Tong or Atkinson, they should bowl out Pakistan for under that in these conditions. But obviously, it's not a given, and Pakistan have bowled much better than they did in the first test. They haven't fielded much better. There's a few drops there, so that's something for them to look at. But it'd be interesting to see how they go. I mean, Barber's back. Maybe he'll kind of rekindle some old magic. You just don't know. So that's it bodes well for an interesting day. Tomorrow could be the best day for batting because I think Saturday's going to be completely washed out. Sunday's going to be rain affected. So it, there might only be about 2 more days playing left, even though there should be 4. Given that both sides aren't very good, so just 2 more days would be enough for a result, I think. Anyway, on to day 2, and we'll see what happens.